December 21st, 1989. Palace Square, Bucharest. The temperature is below freezing. Over 50,000 people stand in the bitter cold. Many are here against their will. Pulled from schools mid-class, dragged from workplaces. Some have been standing for over 5 hours, facing icy wind, waiting. All eyes turn toward the balcony of the imposing Central Committee building, waiting for one man, Nicolae Ceaușescu. For nearly a quarter century, he ruled Romania with absolute authority, his government marked by surveillance, secret police, cult of personality, shaped the daily lives of millions. But at this moment, the foundation of his power begins to crumble. What should be his greatest triumph will become his fatal mistake. And 50,000 people will witness the beginning of the end, in real time, on live television. Before we go further, understand this. What you're about to hear isn't legend or exaggeration. This is documented history, live television footage, eyewitness testimonies, official records. The fall of Ceaușescu happened in front of cameras. The world watched a dictator lose control during a speech that was supposed to prove his power. If we don't share these stories, we forget how quickly absolute power can vanish when people stop being afraid. So hit subscribe. Make sure these lessons stay loud. The story begins not on December 21st, but days earlier. In the city of Timișoara, a simple act of courage lit the flame of revolt. A local priest, Nicolae Ceaușescu, dared to criticize the regime. The repression was immediate. When the population tried to prevent his arrest, soldiers opened fire on unarmed civilians. Blood was shed, but it didn't silence the revolt. It spread indignation like fire through dry straw. In cities large and small, the population began defying the regime, breaking the fear that for decades had kept the country silent. Ceaușescu, increasingly isolated, believed only a grandiose gesture could reaffirm his authority. He decided to organize a mass rally in Bucharest. The event would be broadcast live on national television. Prime time, all of Romania would see him as the undisputed leader being acclaimed. He could not imagine this carefully prepared spectacle would become the stage for his downfall. But to understand how he reached this fateful moment, we must go back. Nicolae Ceaușescu was born January 26, 1918, a small rural village in southern Romania. Came from a humble family of peasants. While still a teenager, he migrated to Bucharest. Worked as a shoemaker. Shortly after, became involved with the underground communist movement. Romania in the 1930s was deeply unequal, marked by political repression, growing influence of European fascist regimes. For poor, angry young men like Nicolae, communism seemed to offer social justice, a chance to rise. During World War II, Romania was allied with Nazi Germany until 1944, when it switched sides. During this period, Nicolae was arrested several times for illegal communist activities. In prison, he met key figures in the movement, including Gheorghe Gheorghiu, who would become the country's communist leader after the war. This relationship was decisive for his rise. With Soviet occupation and installation of a communist government, Nicolae quickly rose through ranks in the Romanian Workers' Party, thanks to strict discipline, loyalty, ability to align himself with power. In 1965, after Gheorghiu's death, Nicolae took over as General Secretary of the Romanian Communist Party. Initially, he presented himself as a moderate reformer, won sympathy inside and outside the country. A landmark move occurred in 1968. He refused to support the invasion of Czechoslovakia by Warsaw Pact troops. This defiant attitude toward Moscow projected him as an independent leader, earned him respect in the West. For a few years, Romania under Ceaușescu was seen as an exception, a communist country seeking autonomy from the Soviet Union. However, this reformist veneer didn't last. In the 1972, Nicolae consolidated an extremely centralized and authoritarian regime, created a true cult of personality. His image was everywhere: posters, school books, TV shows, fashion shows. He and his wife Elena were portrayed as the fathers of the nation, symbols of wisdom and sacrifice. The reality was much harsher. The secret police, known as the dreaded Securitate, kept millions under constant surveillance, infiltrating homes, universities, workplaces, Fear was the glue keeping society in check. In the 1980 seconds, his obsession with paying Romania's foreign debt plunged the country into misery. Determined to settle debts with Western banks, Nicolae ordered almost all agricultural and industrial production be exported. Empty shelves in markets, long lines for bread and meat, rationing of electricity, gas, heating. While the population starved and shivered in apartments, the presidential couple lived in luxurious palaces, accumulating wealth and privileges. The contrast between official discourse and everyday reality became unbearable. Nicolae appeared on television promising prosperity and national greatness, while ordinary citizens spent hours in lines for 1 liter of oil, a piece of butter. The whole country was a stage for carefully choreographed performances. But Romanians knew they were living a lie. Another aspect was megalomania. Nicolae ordered construction of what was called the People's House in Bucharest, now known as the Palace of Parliament, the second largest administrative building in the world, only behind the Pentagon. To erect this monumental structure, entire neighborhoods were demolished. Thousands of families lost homes. The city gained a cold, impersonal air. This project symbolized both his obsession with power and contempt for popular suffering. Elena, his wife, played a central role. Presented as a great intellectual scientist, accumulated titles and honors, many falsified or granted through political pressure. Behind the scenes, she was seen as authoritarian, vain, even more ruthless than her husband. Together they formed a couple that ruled not only with an iron fist but with almost delusional narcissism. As communism crumbled across Eastern Europe in the late 1980 seconds, Nicolae refused to accept reality. As regimes fell in Berlin, Prague, Warsaw, he believed Romania was immune, protected by its security apparatus, the forced loyalty of the army. This mental isolation was fatal. Instead of negotiating reforms, he insisted on more repression. When the first demonstrations took place in December 1989, he ordered them crushed with brutal violence. But it backfired. The massacre only inflamed popular revolt. Revealed his power was no longer unchallenged. Thus, when Nicolae appeared on the balcony of the Central Committee on December 21st, trying to demonstrate control and popular support, history had already changed course. This man, who'd grown from humble beginnings, who'd become absolute leader, who saw himself as the nation's hero, was about to face the rebellion of his own people. December 21st, 1989, Palace Square, Bucharest. Nicolae appears on the balcony of the monumental Central Committee building, his impeccable jacket contrasting with the biting cold. As he raises his hand to greet the crowd, almost deafening applause invades the square. For those watching on television, it seems like a moment of consecration. But on the icy ground, something doesn't fit. Almost everyone in the crowd is motionless. Stiff expressions, blank stares. Only a few rows at the front are moving, as if trying to bring the spectacle to life. The truth is uncomfortable. Those applauses don't come from people's mouths. They come from hidden speakers repeating a previous recording, creating the illusion of support. Despite this, Nicolae begins his speech with usual assurance. Someone who for decades has never been challenged. His firm voice echoes through the square, extolling the regime's achievements, promising prosperity. At first, everything seems to go according to plan. But it only takes a few minutes for the carefully crafted plan to start falling apart. As he thanks the rally organizers, shouts erupt from the back of the crowd. But they're not part of the staging, not controlled sounds, indignant living voices. Chaos begins. Elena, beside her husband, panics, shouts. Someone is shooting, without being sure what's actually happening. A security guard quickly approaches. They're entering the building, he warns. Attention is immediate. Off camera, groups of demonstrators break through containment barriers, advance toward the Central Committee. The cameraman on state television knows exactly what to do. Clear instructions had been given. If any unforeseen event happened, raise the camera to the sky. Prevent the audience from seeing any sign of rebellion. Thus, as people advance, screens display only vague images of the building. The grey sky of Bucharest. Now, protesters are directly below the balcony. Nicolae and Elena, in desperation, try to impose authority, shouting, "Retreat! Stay where you are!" Nicolae repeats to himself as if wanting to believe it. This is a provocation, a conspiracy against me. However, nothing deters the crowd. In an almost miraculous way, security guards manage to push protesters back behind barriers. For an instant, order is restored. Nicolae, trying to regain control, continues his speech. Announces impact measures, sudden wage increases, higher pensions, words thrown to the wind, added up to desperation. The people no longer believe it. When the speech ends, many refuse to leave. Remain firm, fueled by a new feeling. It was possible to challenge the regime. Soon, protests spread through Bucharest streets. Slogans echo among buildings. Down with Ceaușescu. Freedom for the people. The dictator, hearing reports, is furious. From the top of his palace, he orders tanks. Soldiers, secret police, crush the revolt. His orders are clear: end the uprising at any cost. The cost is terrible. Troops open fire on unarmed protesters. Anyone trying to erect barricades is shot by snipers positioned on rooftops. The center of Bucharest turns into a battlefield. During the night, blood spreads across the asphalt. The army is forced to use water cannons to wash the streets, a grotesque attempt to erase traces of repression. Still, Nicolae believes he won. At dawn, he tells his wife, "It's over. Now everything will go back to normal." Their relief is temporary. Soon, alarming reports arrive. Whole columns of workers abandoning factories, marching towards city center. This time, something has changed profoundly. Soldiers and police sent to contain them no longer obey. Many refuse to shoot compatriots. Others go further, lay down weapons, join protesters. The machinery of blind obedience sustaining the regime for decades begins breaking down before the dictator's eyes. Nicolae goes into despair, calls an emergency meeting with the few remaining Communist Party members. Inside the Central Committee building, the atmosphere is panic. Outside, hundreds of thousands surround the building, shouting slogans, throwing stones, trying to break down doors. Time is running out. Protesters are about to storm the offices of power. Faced with the threat, Nicolae gives the final order: bring a helicopter to the roof immediately. Escape is the only option. When the helicopter lands, Nicolae and Elena are no longer composed. Both are pale, trembling, need to be practically carried by security guards to the aircraft. Along with two senior officials and two bodyguards, they squeeze into the cabin. Minutes later, the helicopter takes off. Just below, the mass of protesters invades the roof. But it's too late. From above, the pilot heads towards Snagov, Nicolae's private residence north of the capital. Inside the aircraft, the dictatorial couple finally understands the gravity. The country they believed they controlled with an iron fist no longer belongs to them. The square that was supposed to consecrate his power became the scene of his ruin. Afternoon of December 22nd, 1989. With chaos installed in Bucharest, Nicolae and Elena were trapped. The presidential palace had been invaded. The military was turning against the dictator. Only one option remained: flee. Quickly, a helicopter was prepared on the building roof. The couple, accompanied by two close aides and security guards, hurriedly boarded. The initial objective was escaping the siege, seeking support in some military garrison still faithful. The flight begins amid panic. From above, Nicolae desperately makes radio contact with military commanders, demanding reinforcements, ordering them to receive him. But the response he receives is devastating. There will be no help. Many commanders had already declared allegiance to the popular uprising. Others simply refused to comply. The authority of decades evaporated before his eyes. The pressured pilot suggests lightening the aircraft's weight. Two nearby employees are left behind in an open field. To their fate, Nicolae insists the helicopter head toward Pitești, where he believed he'd find a loyal garrison. But suddenly, a message echoes over the radio. All unauthorized flights are prohibited. Any unidentified aircraft would be shot down. The risk was enormous. With no alternatives, the pilot lands on a secluded road between Bucharest and Târgoviște. The couple is now practically alone, accompanied only by two security guards. A brutal contrast. A few hours earlier, Nicolae was speaking as absolute leader of Romania. Now he walked lost like any other fugitive. In the middle of harsh winter, after a few minutes, they managed to intercept a passing car, driven by a bicycle mechanic named Nicolae Ceaușescu. Disoriented, they ask him to lead them toward Târgoviște. During the journey, they listen on the car radio to broadcasts announcing the regime's collapse. For them, confirmation. The empire of terror had fallen. Ceaușescu, aware of the danger harboring the country's most hated fugitives, suggests they hide in an agricultural institute on the town's outskirts. When they arrive, the institute's director pretends to help, but quickly locks them in a room. The couple's downfall was consummated. The untouchable leaders became prisoners in hours. Shortly after, local police officers arrive at the institute, without hesitation, take them into custody, transfer them to a military barracks in Târgoviște. There they remain for the next few days. Improvised cells, constantly watched. Meanwhile, in Bucharest, the new provisional government, led by Ion Iliescu, discussed the couple's fate. Popular pressure was overwhelming. People demanded immediate justice. Fear that any delay could open space for counter-coups, rescue attempts. It was decided to organize a summary trial. Morning of December 25, 1989, an official decree creates an extraordinary military court to prosecute Nicolae and Elena. The trial doesn't take place in a traditional court. Inside the barracks, where they were detained. The process is conducted by military officials, transmitted in internal records. Clear intention of concluding quickly. The accusations are serious. Genocide against the Romanian people. Systematic destruction of the national economy. Abuse of power. Attempt to flee with over $1 billion deposited in foreign accounts. As crimes are read, Nicolae smiles in disdain. Doesn't recognize the court's legitimacy. To him, nothing more than a farce. Elena reacts with fury, interrupting the judge several times. The session lasts barely 2 hours. No real defense, no witnesses. The decision was already made before it started. The final verdict finds both guilty of all crimes. The sentence is clear: death by immediate firing squad. Nicolae tries to appeal, says the trial is illegal, demands to be taken to Parliament. His once feared voice now finds no echo. He only asks to be executed alongside Elena. The request is accepted. Soldiers bring ropes to tie the couple, but both vehemently refuse. Nicolae and Elena argue with military, insisting they wouldn't try to flee. The moment is tense, but guards follow protocol. Soon after, the couple is taken to the external courtyard of the barracks. There against a wall, they face their last moments. Elena, in desperation, begins shouting insults at soldiers, denying accusations. Some reports say she began crying, overcome with anger and incredulity. Nicolae, in contrast, maintains surprising calm. In the final seconds, he begins singing the Internationale, the socialist workers' anthem, until interrupted by the firing squad's bursts. Bodies fall side by side, sealing the brutal end of a regime lasting almost a quarter century. The execution not only physically eliminated the regime's leadership, but had profound psychological impact on Romanian society. For years, many believed him untouchable, an almost eternal leader, sustained by fear and propaganda. Seeing him and his wife tried and executed so quickly shattered that myth of invincibility. For the first time in decades, the population realized absolute power could be overthrown. Even the most powerful could face consequences. This collective shock opened space for national catharsis. Tears of relief, screams of celebration, widespread feeling that history was finally changing direction. The next day, images of their bloodied corpses are shown on national television. For the population, definitive proof the regime had ended. The scene shocks the world, but for Romanians, brings sense of relief. Revenge after decades of repression and misery. May 1990. Romania held its first free elections since 1937. Although the political process was still marked by tensions, presence of former Communist Party members in positions of power, it was the beginning of a new era. In following years, Romania began social and economic reconstruction. The path was not easy. Transition from communism to market economy brought hardship, unemployment, crises. Even so, the country began treading a new trajectory. In 2004, it became a member of NATO. In 2007, joined the European Union, consolidating its place in the democratic West. The trial and summary execution of Nicolae and Elena continue to be debated today. Many critics point to lack of legal guarantees, the haste, political motivation of the process. However, for a large part of the Romanian population, there was no other way to close that dark chapter. Christmas 1989, once symbols of hope in midst of harsh winter, became a watershed in Romania. Streets once marked by fear now rang with bells. Cries of freedom. Families gathered in front of TVs. Not to listen to the dictator, but to witness astonished the regime's fall. Seeing Nicolae and Elena tried and executed on the very day of Christ's birth was seen by many as divine gift. After years of hunger and silence, the contrast between the festive date and bloody end accentuated the feeling Romania was reborn. In blood and snow of that historic winter, this isn't ancient history. This happened 35 years ago. Romanians who lived through the revolution are still alive. Still remember the fear, the cold, the moment they stopped being afraid. The lesson is clear. Dictatorships fall when people overcome fear. When soldiers refuse to shoot their own countrymen. When the machinery of obedience breaks down. Nicolae Ceaușescu believed he was untouchable, that his power was eternal. He was wrong. And 50,000 witnesses watched him realize it in real time. If this story moved you, make sure you subscribe right now. Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts on how the Ceaușescu regime fell and what lessons it holds for today. Thanks for watching, and please share this video with anyone interested in the power of collective action against tyranny. These stories of people overcoming fear must never be forgotten. These voices must stay loud.